Hi guys, Andy N, spoken label, back in the house on a bloody cold winter evening. I thought it kind of made sense there. You can see the backdrop here because this is from my last book, and we've not had the snow where we are today, but it's been -10 all first thing this morning, not dropped about -4 or -5 all day. It's been bloody freezing. Now, it kind of makes sense. We're local today, and we've got a local fantastic singer-songwriter with us today. I'm not going to embarrass her by telling me what she's been telling me today, or telling me how she's keeping herself warm today, but I can't blame her. But we've got the fantastic Raven Shelley with us now. Raven currently is actually based on my favourite area is Chiltern. So I grew up around Chiltern and sort of got uncle from my dad all the time. But obviously, Raven, tell us a bit about yourself first of all, because obviously, better clarify, hadn't we? You're not born and bred in Chiltern, were you? So, and people are seeing it by your
No.
accent.
Yeah, exactly. I get that one a lot. Yeah, well, I was born in the UK but grew up in France, in the south of France, sort of very small little village. And then as a teenager came back to the UK, to Shrewsbury, which is sort of where I spent, yeah, a few years as well, teenage years, kind of high school, stuff like that. And then I went to uni in Manchester, and studied English Lit, which is sort of a lot of well, my love for literature had started before that, but kind of I think was expanded, studying all of these amazing texts and authors. And yeah, sort of probably where I kind of really decided to start writing music, and sort of performing, and then graduated into the COVID pandemic, that first year of it.
Oh, unlucky. So unlucky with that, because
Yeah, I know. Um, and
I know
ended up
I
working.
know people have done all 3 years of it through COVID, and that
Yeah, I can't
you avoided
imagine.
part of it, but oh no.
Yeah. No, I was really lucky in that I avoided most of it, and it was just sort of in my final year. I felt so sorry for those first years, like going into uni with everything locked down. It's sort of I don't know what uni experience it would have been like, but at least I got a couple of good years out of it.
Yeah, I think they
Uh,
always say when you get to your third year, because I know when I did mine at Bolton Uni many years ago, like it was like the third year, you don't see the pub anyway, 'cause you're just working all the time.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So it didn't really change. It's tied to your
Exactly
desk,
what I
yeah.
would do. So, but I was like, you've done before, loving me, you want to do your music then, didn't you? So, had this always been in your mind growing up and before that?
Um, I I don't think so. I think that I'd always grown up surrounded by a lot of music. Sort of both my parents play instruments, and there was just a lot of just music in the house being played most days. And I think that my parents are both writers, so that probably
Ah,
helped with
that
literature and yeah, with sort of my
right,
love
that
for
explains
words.
why. Yeah. So, what do your parents write then? Go on, just to give some context. And
Yeah, sure. Well, they're the editors of the current affairs publication, sort of annual public affairs, and that's sort of the main thing. But they also write poetry and fiction and sort of various more sort of historical, not yeah, historical books really. So it's
yeah,
kind of a lot of variety, I suppose.
oh, I
And
was wondering with your background, so like 'cause people research they can see you are. I think you're very well read, and we'll come on to this in a bit. And it was like, yeah, I saw it straight away. Like it was. I was wondering whether your parents have been writers because it sometimes
yeah,
does flow in your family that way.
yeah,
Because
sure. And
none of my
sort of
family are
their books,
writers, but my
right?
families are readers. They are
Yes,
ferocious
yeah.
readers, not writers. So, so yeah, that explains why.
Yeah, I think it fosters a love of literature, and you're sort of very young if you're surrounded by books. So,
Oh no, completely. So yeah, okay. So tell us, what made you want to go into music then?
um, well, I picked up a guitar when I must have been about 10 or 11, and I ended up sitting in on a friend's guitar lessons because there wasn't enough room in the classes for me to get like a start of my own. So I ended up sitting in on
Oh yeah,
hers and just kind of picking it up as I went along. And I think, I just then got into it from there, like just more and more. And when I moved back to the UK as a teenager, I sort of started a couple of bands and was rhythm guitarist and singer. And then, but I think that going to uni and that independence that you get at uni, and reading all of this stuff fostered a sort of interest in writing my own stuff and just performing alone. And since then, I love playing music with people, but I'm sort of more interested in doing it, I think, writing alone,
yeah,
certainly. And yeah, I think I don't know, I think that just picking up the guitar and from writing those songs, and then it sort of increased at uni, and I just decided, well, this is what I want to do. And then I think at the end of uni, sort of everyone's at a bit of a loose end, and especially then with COVID and stuff, and I was working in a COVID test centre. But once I left Manchester, I think I decided, well, I'm not actually going to be happy unless I've given this a proper go. So, and I might as well try, and at least then I can say that I did try, if it doesn't work out. So, and I just can't not write music. So
No, yeah, that's fair play to you. Fair play to you. It's like I'm always a believer when if something gets it, you get like a bee in your bonnet, you can
yes,
have a
yeah,
go at it. And you're going to keep having a go until it reaches its natural end, whether you're
yeah,
200 or you're
yeah,
22, who knows?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I can give you complete. Now, I know obviously it's reading up on yourself, or like people I notice, like I know some of your music influences were Bob Dylan and
Mhm.
Annie DiFranco, and I never got
Yeah.
her name right. I said I saw her when I was like 21, 22, it was a long time ago. She's
Yeah.
fantastic, she was. Like I
Yeah,
said,
I love her energy. I would have loved to see her live.
oh yeah, I'm not even sure she's active nowadays. I know Bob Dylan is obviously people know.
Yeah. I know that she still tours in the US. I haven't seen any tours sort of in the UK for ages, but yeah, if she ever does come here, I'm first in line for tickets.
Yeah, I think you might be following around England and basically, aren't you? If you
Yeah.
can, no, fair play to yourself. Like Ted, for example, Bob Dylan and DiFranco with
Mhm.
you from a very early age and for your music taste, and were
Yeah, again, it's sort of that stuff about a lot of music being played in the house. Sort of, I don't know, at dinner, for instance, just lots of music there in the evenings. And I think that they are some of the sort of names that kept reappearing. It's like sort of people like Leonard Cohen as well, sort of and just sort of stayed with me, I guess. And just I think that obviously I've been exposed to a lot of different music and listened to a lot of different music, but I think that Dylan and Ani DiFranco's lyrics are the things that come through every time. And that's what I'm sort of most interested in, and Leonard Cohen as well, of course.
yeah, do is they are very, very distinctive lyricists,
Yeah.
and it's like me that the music with lyrics and lyrics with
Yeah.
poetic lyrics, or yeah, read reading up before in Plastic Mag, and I love what was said here was, and I've got to find the word for it now, poetic lyricism, lyricism. I love that saying actually. I thought brilliant that was. Now, also, like, if people research to date, I know you've done 3 singles, haven't you? And there's
Yeah.
more to come, but we'll come on to that later. So I want to talk to you about all 3 of your singles to
Okay.
date. Then, okay? So, like I said, the first one, obviously, when I heard earlier on this year,
Mhm.
was "Sinking Solitude," which I
Yeah.
think is a great play and words with SNS on it there.
Yeah, it's good sibilance, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Obviously, all 3 of the singles were Manchester linked, weren't they, in one way or another?
Mm.
So and then obviously, I know you've been living in the Lake District for on and off the past 18 months as well.
Mhm.
So I want to talk to you about how that's impacted your work, moving about different areas. But tell us about your 3 singles first of all, then.
Okay, yeah, sure. Sink in Solitude, I wrote when I was at uni in Manchester, and had woken up late, and I think I was probably a bit hungover. I think I'd gone out somewhere, and I just sort of woke up and I was really annoyed with myself for wasting most of the day. And it was sort of one of those really grey sort of days, possibly raining and kind of wintry. Everything was just a bit depressing and miserable, and I'd been reading Richard II as well as part of my uni course, and there's this last soliloquy in it which is just beautiful, which is and that's where I sort of adapted one of the lines in it for the waste time, it'll waste you in the end. um and yeah, I'd sort of been reading uh, a biography of the romantic poet Shelley's life as well.
Yeah, he's an interesting character, that's for sure.
Yeah, certainly was. Um, and just amazing poetry and sort of incredible, if short, life. And yeah, I think that there's a scene that's described in that where he sort of it was near the end of his life, and he describes it's something like he describes walking on the terrace and seeing a doppelganger of himself, essentially asking him how long he meant to be content, sort of in this sort of Italian paradise that he was living in.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. I think all of that sort of impacted the lyrics for "Sink in Solitude," as well as that feeling of sort of, what am I actually doing with my time? It just felt like I was wasting time. So that's probably where the first one came from, and yeah, kind of
Yeah,
yeah.
and then like but I know your second single obviously was going on
Yeah.
about quite a narcissistic relationship. That's the nice way of putting it, I think,
Yeah,
definitely.
it is.
Do you miss me yet? And or miss me yet? Actually, I don't know then. But yeah, it's the tempo with those two singles is quite different, I think, between them both. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. I think Do You Miss Me Yet was just it was a while after that relationship had ended, but I was looking back on it and sort of thinking, I want to write something. And I started off with that line, "Do you miss me yet?" And it literally wrote itself within about 10, 15 minutes. And just, yeah, I sort of looked back on it afterwards and I was like, that's interesting.
yeah,
I wasn't expecting that to come out.
I think you do. Sometimes you find that, well, that's before. I know you've wrote poetry before now, and you've stated
Yeah,
elsewhere, like some of your poems become songs as well.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I know myself, like, because I've fronted a band before now, and
Hmm.
some songs you can now, poems you can write in 10 minutes. And other
Yes.
ones can be sat there for 2.5, 3 years, and you
Yeah.
can never get them right, can you?
No,
So,
and they just keep coming back and they refuse to go away, but you think, you sort of have to wrestle them into submission so that they
oh
kind of
yeah,
actually
yeah. I love the title of your current single as well, and I know
Yeah.
'cause I was playing this before actually. 'Cause after I knew your second and third single before we chatted, and I had to play all three. And
Mhm.
Amanda loved the third one before she did. Everest. I've got to find where I put it now. Everest Lives, and I thought,
Yeah, Rainier's
why?
Lives, yeah.
Because that's an unusual word. That one straight away. To what made you? Not
Yeah,
necessarily the content of the piece. I don't think people hear it themselves, but the
mm,
title's quite striking straight away.
yeah, and I really don't know where that came from. I know that the chorus and the sort of question answer aspect of the chorus literally just popped into my head once I was walking down a road in Manchester when I was still at uni. I think I'd just started uni and sort of it just this sort of jangly kind of question answer thing was going round and round in my head. And I don't know, the title just seemed to work. It was sort of, it's just these lives that are full of mistakes and errors and didn't quite ever match up with
Yeah,
each other. And and I really liked the word as well. So I like interesting titles. I think it's sort of, titles are harder than a lot of people think they are, because obviously it's the first thing that will pull you into sort of something.
yeah, I
How
know.
to
And I'm
cover art.
often when I'm writing poems, I've done songs in
Yeah,
the past as well. The title's always the hardest thing to
yeah,
write. It's like,
exactly.
have you found? Do you find yourself when you're doing your songs? Then is it always the title comes first, or do you have the song when they struggle with the title?
It really varies. With Do You Miss Me Yet, I knew that I wanted to write a song called Do You Miss Me Yet, just because I thought, that's that certainly says something. And yeah, and then Sink in Solitude, I think, just uh seemed to fit because it was the last line in the chorus and it just seemed to fit the mood of the song. So I think it really does vary. It's sort of, sometimes I think you come up with a title and you think, oh, I really like that as a title. I want to use that. Um, and then the song comes from there. And other times you sort of, some of the ones that I'm working on now still don't have a title, and I'm sort of, they're
Oh,
unnamed files.
I've done an interview with a singer who I'm not going to name yet. I know they've got about 50 songs recorded or wrote, and they call them Thingy 1, 2, 3, 4. I know somebody
Oh
who
wow, it
do.
must get really confusing.
Oh, I know. I could never operate like that. And my hair's going a bit grey now. When it become completely grey, if I operate like that. Oh yeah, no, no, I get you completely that. So yeah. Now, I want to ask you as well. Obviously, I know what's going. We've talked before, and as people read up, you can see,
Mm.
obviously you've done 3 singles so far, and there's another
Sure.
2 on the way next year, isn't there?
Yeah.
So is there any hints we can give about these? I presume
Yeah.
is one of them going to be Ariel, your Sylvia Plath song?
It is, yeah. Sort of uh it's one of my favorite songs that I've written. And um it I think I started that with knowing that I wanted to write something about Sylvia Plath because I've been reading a lot of her poetry, especially from that last collection, Ariel. So
You think really of that is like what? That's over 50 years old. That's 50 years old. 50 years old, isn't it? Next year?
yeah, it's I think 60 years
No,
since
no,
she
60,
died.
60. So I'm
Yeah,
50. Yeah,
60.
sorry,
And
I can't
sorry,
count.
no, it's because I've actually timing the release so that it's, I think, the day before the 60th anniversary, because it's this tribute to her.
Yeah,
And it's just, it's, yeah, a sort of tragically sad life, and short life, but amazing work that came out of it. and in Ariel, I sort of took a lot of those lines in her poetry and sort of merged them in with my own lyrics. So it's a very, it feeds into the whole intertextuality thing that you'd get with a lot of work. And yeah, it's really one of my favorite things that I've written. I made someone cry when I played it the other day at an open mic. She sort of came up to me afterwards and said,
Oops.
yeah, well, she said, this is like, I'm so pleased that you played this. I literally haven't read poetry in ages, and then I read the entire collection last night, and hearing you play that was just like a weird coincidence. So that was lovely to sort of see that it meant that to someone.
Oh, it does. You think you look at like poetry and like music to me, I think it does date sometimes. But you do get anomalies like that Ariel collection, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
Just because the rage in it is like, I think she probably broke a few boundaries really with that she did. So, and it's a fun. What the snip I've heard of that song, it sounds incredible. So I look forward to hearing that as a single.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
So.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to sort of share it with people.
Yeah, no, good luck. I definitely, and obviously, I know there's another single as well. Now,
yeah,
I've not. I guessed what it was, and I forgot. I've not wrote it down.
it's called it's called Bubble Wrap the World.
That was it. And it was bubble wrap something.
Yeah. No, again, that was something where I was just having a conversation with someone, and they sort of mentioned, they said, yeah, it's like everyone's trying to bubble wrap the world or something, and I thought that's a fantastic title. Like, I'm stealing that. So yeah, again, it was just a song which was based on a title, I guess, about a lot of people being offended by, I think the assumption that you have the right to be offended at any time. I suppose it's it might be quite a controversial song, but I think it's got some interesting points in it, and again, I really like the title of just Bubble Wrap the World, so I'm really excited.
Fair play. I'm always a believer as an artist, and any whatever medium you're in, you've got to be pushing boundaries. You have.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like you've got this, like you're on your soapbox or something. You're telling some kind of story, some kind of point.
Yeah.
And if you don't doing that, well, I don't know why you bother doing it. Personally,
exactly. No, you have to keep experimenting and keep pushing boundaries.
Yeah. Now, obviously, looking at starting to wrap things up, and I look a bit because I want to look at what you got planned next. Obviously, we've hinted already. There's 2 more singles to follow.
Yeah.
Little 5. Do you know where you want to go next and after that? Then I know you've got obviously writing other songs. Would you do an album or an EP?
I would love to. Yeah. I think we need to see sort of the reaction to these next 2, and I'm focusing at the moment on playing live a lot, just trying to build that live following. So I'm sort of going to be, obviously things are wrapping up now for Christmas, but going to be doing that a lot in the new year, just kind of again going back to
this podcast. People are wondering, this
almost every night that I'm there.
2022. It's coming out in 23, right? So
right, okay.
It's not coming out before Christmas. No chance of that.
I will be playing sort of in the next.
I've got to get some sleep before then. So so I get me, like, it's, if people follow your page, obviously you can see you're playing quite regularly at the moment anyway, aren't you? So what's the furthest you've got so far when you're playing your live then? You're just in the Manchester area, is it all?
Yeah, mainly. Just again with sort of having moved back to Manchester literally in the past month and a bit, I think sort of staying local to that area and trying to figure out, where the places that are good to play are. I mean, I played in Stockport a few weeks ago at Basque, sort of the open.
I've not been there yet, but it's proving very popular over there.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely place, very stylish bar, and sort of, some really interesting events on. So there, and sort of, around in all of the open mics in the city. So sort of, I think, trying to stay local for the moment and then see what happens.
Just go on the flow of it, can't you? Like, you're building your name up still a bit, and like I said, you said when you've got a couple of singles to come out yet, and that's when you're working your material, you have to keep at it, as I always say, don't you? Plod along regardless.
Exactly.
Now, I want to know, obviously, before we go on to all our items to plug, all right? But obviously, we've been living in the Lake District for a while. I'm always a believer when you live in different areas, because I've lived in Manchester all my life, but I've travelled a lot. So I have done a lot of travelling when I was younger.
Yeah.
And that impacted a lot of my writing.
Yeah.
But, how did you find, and did your songwriting change when you moved up to the Lake District for 14 months?
Yeah. I actually I wrote a guest blog post about how I think places can influence your writing.
Mm.
Because I do think that in Manchester, I wrote things like Sink in Solitude and sort of
Mm.
Erroneous Lives and stuff like that. Whereas then when I moved to the Peak District, then I think I had more time to sort of, and more space to kind of explore different ideas. And I think the writing style changed in that I really felt like I was just writing whatever, thinking, right, I'm going to write whatever uh I I feel like is coming out right now, and then I can always edit it afterwards. But I think, it's sort of that freedom to just think, well, I can play around with this and explore it, and no one needs to see this unless I choose to publish it. And I wrote things like Ariel actually at my parents' house, so surrounded by books and all of the sort of literary conversations.
It
And then,
had
in
to
the
be.
Peaks,
It
I wrote
has to be
things like
that one,
The
didn't it? Straight
Litany.
away,
Yeah,
yeah. I can see that mile off.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
So
brilliant.
yeah, I think it does influence it quite a lot.
Yeah. Are you sort of writing? Obviously, and I know when I'm writing, obviously, if I'm going to do more music side of things, I obviously will do the music bits at home. But
Yeah.
certainly in previous jobs like that, I used to do a lot of when I was commuting all the time on buses. I'd
Hmm.
often be sat there with my tablet tapping away
Yeah.
or handwriting. Are you that sort of writer? Are you all?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really travel anywhere without a notebook with me, because, or, I sort of keep discovering small bits of paper, or, bus tickets and receipts with sort of
Oh,
scribbles on them, or, even in the
I've
backs
been
of
there, done
books.
that. Do
Yeah.
you know, I've been there, done that. Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of exhausting trying to put everything together again afterwards, but you sort of think, what did that mean? It's,
Oh
but
yeah.
I think it's good to write on the move, and just whenever something comes into your head, just write it down and then think, well, I don't have to use it, but at least it's there. And
Yeah, yeah. No,
sometimes stuff comes back years later. You must find that as well, and you sort of something that you thought of several years ago suddenly reappears, and you think, oh, I can use that. Yeah, that's now's the time. Now's its time
no.
to shine.
No, I agree with you completely. That's what you do is you just never know when pieces are going to come back to you sometimes. When
Mm.
I've been working in a book at the minute that's got
Hmm.
pieces from 89, 10 years old, 10 years ago.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like, it's took me 10 years to get them together, to fit together. And it just,
yeah,
the scribbling around and it's rearranged. Good luck definitely with it, Raven.
yeah.
Wish you all the best of it straight away.
Thank
Now,
you.
obviously, the podcast itself will be going out after into
Mhm.
2023. So it's pretty pointless asking you what gigs you've got going up at the moment. So,
Yeah.
but we'll do it the other way around then. So if people want to find out what you're up to, what plans have you got in 2023, where do you recommend they go?
Probably social media, so it's Facebook and Instagram, just at Raven Shelley Music. And yeah, it's sort of, I tend to advertise where I've been or where I'm going to be playing on there, as well as upcoming releases. And also releases are on Spotify and all other platforms. So yeah, on there.
Well, good luck. As I said, people can find you there. So yeah, well, that's it for today. I think we've covered everything that I wanted to ask you about. Definitely been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, Stephen. So
Yeah,
I
thank
look
you for
forward to
having me.
hopefully catching you live in the new year, definitely, because
Yeah, here's
like I
hoping.
said, it was like it's always helpful when your wife's turn around and tell you, "Oh, I like that." So you've probably seen me and a man turn up some point next year when you least
Oh,
expect it.
fantastic. I look forward to it.
You'll see us because like I never shut up talking, and she'll just start nudging me and shh, let her play.
The
Anyway,
perfect
listen,
team then.
hang around anyway. So we do need a quick word off
Yeah,
mic
sure.
anyway. So, but it's been a pleasure today. So good luck for the future. Okay. So
Thank you. Thank you.
right, guys and girls, that's it for today. So as Don Callis at Impact Wrestling says, stay safe and stay over, and we will see you all next